Do you feel like the amount of time that you give to your free content and your free community is out of balance with the amount of time that you're giving to your paying members? Have you ever felt guilty for making the same amount or more, but actually having to invest less time? I'm going to talk today about how dangerous that can be and just what you need to do about it. I want to just give you a little gift today on this episode. Oftentimes, I'm sharing really practical and strategic advice, things that you can implement right away in your business, strategies and tactics to use, but not today. So this is more of a coaching moment that I hope gives you some relief. I hope that it frees you up from a feeling of guilt that may not only be weighing you down in your business, but it may be causing you to make decisions that are ultimately harming the community that you're trying to serve, holding them back from making the progress that they want to make, and impacting your retention. You're actually losing members because of what this feeling of guilt can create in you. And how do I know? It's because I've experienced it as well. I have experienced the weight of this conversation that we're about to enter into. So recently, somebody asked me the question. They said, I feel like I am spending more time on my free content and my free community than I am inside of my paid program, where my paid community is. And that doesn't feel in alignment. And if you feel that way, you feel guilty. And then what happens is one of two things, both of which can harm our business. One is that we make a choice to pull back from our free content, to pull back from our free community, to share less, to help less, to support less. The other is that we feel like we need to do more and provide more to our paid community to balance the scale. Really not even to balance the scale, right? But to get the scale to where it feels like the free people are getting so much less of your time and investment and the paying people are getting so much more. So we end up creating content overwhelm for the people inside of our programs. We create more, not because they need more, but because we feel better giving more to the paid people. We think that is where the value is going to come from. But here's the reality. The nature of business, especially in the early days, is that way more of your time and energy and investment is on the acquisition side, on getting customers into your paid programs. Why? Because that's the way funnels work. If you've ever seen a marketing funnel, it is very wide at the top and very narrow at the bottom. You have to cast a much wider net to get enough people in to ultimately build your paid product community. So that means we have to put a lot more effort in. That means we have to try a lot of new things. That means there's a lot more free content. We're feeding the beast, if you will, and it does take a lot of work and a lot of energy. On the other hand, the fulfillment side of our programs often doesn't take as much. Now, I will say this. As your program scales, you want to pay attention to refund rates and retention and ascension that's happening inside of your programs to make sure that you're maximizing the lifetime value by creating an incredible experience for people. This is what I teach, right? My Cultivate Community training course teaches how to do that through the power of community. My Retain Group consulting program teaches the next level of that, which is building a really great customer experience and retention systems that keep people coming back for more, right? I think that these are all good things, and I very much value and believe in the return on investment in investing more on the fulfillment side than most business owners are used to. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying don't invest on fulfillment and don't invest on that. And that's not okay. You 100% should be investing in that, but not out of a place of guilt, out of a place of creating an incredible customer experience and helping them get a result, right? But what people want from you when they are paying is not more stuff. They're not looking at all of your free content for one, because they're invested in your paid content, which is probably enough for them to consume. But they also are not going, oh, just give me more. Like, okay, I got one of these PDFs inside of your free list builder. I'd like 500 of them, please, now. And that's where I'm going to get the value. No, because there's a law of diminishing of returns, which says at some point, more of a good thing is no longer a good thing. I actually don't have the capacity to leverage that anymore. So what happens inside of our communities is that they often get things like depth of content. They're getting way more depth in what we're teaching. So there may be a high level explanation inside of the free. We may be just touching on some key takeaways and bullet points, but they're getting way more depth over here. Depth of discussion, depth of training. And maybe that they get assets and resources that help them implement the thing they learned about in your free content. And those may not be things that you personally as the business owner have to create. You might do the training and then your team turns around and they create a guide and a template and a toolkit and all of these other resources that are highly valuable for paying members that you may not give to your free community, but you weren't the one that had to go and create that, right? They could be getting access to you that people don't get inside of your free content. You're putting out a lot of content, casting a wide net, but people aren't getting access to you in the way that they typically are inside of a paid community. I think about some of my clients who have coaching memberships, right? They have podcasts, and so they're doing a one-to-many coaching, if you will. There's no back and forth happening. They're not like answering questions for anybody. They're not coaching anybody. And they're also only able to scratch the surface on the topics that they're talking about. But inside of their communities, they do have coaching calls. You can interact with them. You can experience more personalized coaching. There is more of a depth and there is more of a roadmap and tools and resources that help you make progress faster, right? And that doesn't often take as much time for that community leader as all of the podcasts and the guest podcasts and all of that stuff actually creates. So this became really something that I became aware of when I was on a call with Ryan Lee, who's a business person that I really respect. And he said this thing, and I wrote it down in my journal over here. So I don't know about you, but I am a handwritten journal person. He said, the value of your program does not come from what you create or how much time it takes you. It comes from the value the customer gets from the product. The value in your program does not come from what you create or how much time it takes you to create it. It comes from the value the customer gets from the product. So the value, y'all, is not in how much effort it takes you or your team to create the thing. That does not equate to value. I think about it like visiting the dentist, right? It may take just as much time to fill a cavity as it does to clean the teeth, but it costs way more to fill the cavity. There's much higher value for me because if I am in pain, I want that pain solved and I want the expert to solve it. I want it done fast. I want it done well. I want it done at a high quality, but I'm not willing to pay as much just for preventative measures for like getting my teeth clean. But it's the same amount of time. It's a similar amount of effort, right? Requires a different level of expertise, sure. But it's going to cost a lot more. So when you think about this concept, I hope that it is freeing for you. I hope that it frees you from this oh so common feeling of guilt that we get when we start to scale our business and when we craft a program that actually gives us the time freedom we said we wanted. And this is where it gets really crazy for me. You probably bought a course, joined a mastermind, signed up for a coaching program, right? Joined a membership because somebody told you if you do this, if you follow this plan, you will have more time freedom. I'm sure they said financial freedom too, but you will have more time freedom. And then what happens when it actually works? When you do the work and you're not having to deliver one-on-one anymore, you're delivering one-to-many, and your effort, your input isn't increasing at an equal rate as your revenue, right? One-to-many, this is what we should expect. We should expect to make more per investment of hour because of leverage. We're putting in the exact same amount, but instead of putting in 10 and getting 10 back now, we're getting 50 back, then 100 back, then 200 back. That's what we wanted, right? And even then, as we build these programs and then we build the team of people to support us, like a really amazing community manager, which if you need one, let me know. But we build these teams to support us, and then we get to step back even more because now we're shifting. We're a CEO now. We're spending time investing in our team, and our team is the one who's going and creating this amazing experience for people inside of our programs. But then we feel that guilt because we still have to do the webinar. We still have to show up on the podcast. We still have to record the reels. We still have to do whatever those other things are that we do to get people in the door. We're doing a whole lot more of that than we are showing up for our paid community. But I don't want you to feel guilty because it's the very thing that you wanted. You wanted this time freedom. So I want you to embrace it. And I want to make sure that when this happens, because it will for you, if you keep on this trajectory, you keep investing in yourself, your knowledge, your skills, doing the work, investing in your community the way that you are by listening to the show, if you keep doing this, you will get to a point of scale. You will get to a point where you start to feel the gap in your schedule. You start to feel this time freedom. You start to see that you're putting 10 in and getting 50 back, and you may feel guilty about that, right? I want you to know that this is coming. And when it happens, I want you to let the space exist. I want you to let the gap be there. And instead of filling that time with creating more things for your program, creating more things for your membership or your course because, gosh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I need to give them more. I'm not giving them enough value. I want you to do two things. I want you to lean into what you are hearing from your customers. I want you to lean into their wins. Lean into their progress. See the progress and the results that they are getting by what you are providing, by the community that you have created, and celebrate that you are able to do that at scale. And then I want you to fill that time with things that light you up, things that elevate you as a person, that bring you joy, that help you pour into your family, your local community, your passions, your hobbies, those other things. Because it's not always about building and scaling our business, right? And if we really wanted this time freedom, I don't think we said, I'd love to have 10 less hours of work a week or 20 less hours of work a week so that I can get that time, feel guilty about it, and then fill that time with more work. That's not what we said. We had this desire, this vision of traveling with our family, with traveling alone, of pursuing new hobbies and activities, for being able to care for our aging parents, for being able to write that book we've always wanted to write because we just care about it. That's what I want you filling your time with. I want you to feel guilty when you actually start experiencing this gift of time. So I'm going to leave you with this thought one more time. And I want you to sit with it. I want you to write it down. I want you to put it on your computer. Tell your team this, send them this podcast episode as well, because I really want you to hone in every time you start to create something new and you start to create more. I want you to ask yourself if that creation is coming from a place of need, of truly being able to provide something that you know is going to help them make more progress. Or is it coming from a place of guilt, where the time and space you've always wanted is finally here and now you feel guilty and you have to fill it with work? So the value of your program does not come from what you create or how much time it takes you to manage this program. It comes from the value that the customer gets from the product. That is totally okay. If you are working the same amount or less time, your customers are still getting incredible value, you're making even more money, all of those things are totally okay. All right. Like I said, today is not super practical. It's not very tactical. It's not a strategic plan for you, but it's a mistake that I see so many people making, that I have made myself, and that has been top of mind for me, not only because I heard Ryan say this, but because this question came just a week later. And so I know it's something that you have probably struggled with, and if you haven't, you probably will. So I hope that you get incredible value out of this. Do me a favor, I'd love for you to share it with a fellow entrepreneur, because if you are an entrepreneur, I hope that you have entrepreneur friends and they will at some point encounter this as well. And I would love to see a generation of entrepreneurs that actually enjoy the time freedom that entrepreneurship creates for them.